Hello and welcome to Emirates 24/7.
Lots coming up tonight.
Getting hands-on, we find out why vocational training is an effective alternative to traditional educational models.
Plus, a private push while UAE nationals are opting for private education. We find out why. Welcome back to Emirates 24/7. Well, more than 50% of locals prefer to send their children to private schools. And over the last 2 decades, the number of Emiratis doing this has risen by 20%, despite government education being offered for free.
So what is driving this change? And what are the biggest challenges facing Emirati students studying in the private sector? Priyanka Dutt finds out.
Look inside an average classroom in any of Dubai's private schools and you see a microcosm of the 200 nationalities living here. However, until a few years back, this description wasn't entirely correct, with locals going to government-run public schools and expats choosing private education for their children. The basic difference between the two? Language, or a choice between an Arabic medium and an English medium education. Today, that very language divide is seeing more and more Emiratis send their children to English-speaking private schools.
The old days when we were studying, there was no private school or international school in those days, so I studied and finished my education in a government school. After the high secondary, I decided to complete my education abroad, where I faced the problem of the language and that I have to waste at least 1 year of foundation to have the, let's say, the high secondary again. I mean, I have studied again to cope with the foundation of the, let's say, international standard. Basically, that's the main reason to choose the international school for my kids, to avoid this conflict of different education.
Ayman Fada is just one of a growing population of locals sending their children to private schools, with even government-run higher education institutions like the Zayed University operating in English and Emiratization opening up more and more top jobs for locals. Parents want to make sure their children have the best head start. Today, almost 15% of the student population in private schools are Emiratis.
Actually, in government school, they focus on Arabic study more than English. And now, in each job in the future or any university, they use all day, all years in English. So I think children have to study from beginning in English. It's better for them.
Yet, choosing English as a primary medium of instruction comes with its own concerns, with genuine fears among the local population about the loss of Arabic. While more than 50% of Emirati locals choose to send their children to private schools, the big challenge lies in giving their children an English language education, yet preserving the Arabic language.
Actually, they start losing the local language. The local culture also is not, let's say, practiced probably as the government school. So they end up like, for example, my kids sometimes they want to express something and they will say, "Oh, I can tell you in English." So that's something we really, feel the gap.
However, private schools have their own ways to deal with this problem. For instance, this class at the Uptown Mirdif school teaching first graders Arabic, part of a government mandate for all private schools to teach their students, expats or locals, a certain level of Arabic.
We value highly the culture of the local Emirati families. And so from that perspective, not only do we value it, but of course the regulatory authorities value it. And so we are expected to deliver a certain amount of our school week to the Emirati language, to the Arabic language.
And then there are parents who come up with their own innovative ways to tackle the language problem.
When they come back to home, I used to talk with them in Arabic and fluent Arabic, not the normal which one we use it in home in our culture. As well, I try to read the story with them, books, and the weekend time I send them to learn to read the Holy Quran, because the Holy Quran will improve their language in Arabic.
And so, it's this balance between getting an English education without ignoring the Arabic language that seems to be the way ahead for the UAE to truly become a knowledge-based economy. Priyanka Dutt, Emirates 24/7.